Today we are meeting Aurora Hartsleeve from South Africa, and we'll be talking about Milab, super soldiers, and this kind of stuff. Hello, Aurora.
Hello, Alex.
Let's begin from the history, from your history. So, how was it? How it happened that you were involved in this project, and how come that you learned about this? Because first you was not aware of that. So, what is your history actually?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate your time. And, well, the history of what has happened with me is I used to have dreams when I was little of being involved in military experiences, experiments. I didn't know it was experiments then at the time. I then also started going into a bit more information with regards to it, researching it up, and then I realized it was actually it's actually a project. It was a project with involving youngsters when they were very gifted at the time. My experience as I grew older became more involved in terms of visiting planets, going out with other groups of youngsters. I could never really, I didn't really know them, but I do know that there was a familiarity with the people. Personally, I always felt at the time that so they somehow tried to keep me under a state of to be subdued, and I always fought against it. I also believe that my family were involved in it as well. So to keep me in that, cycle, that controlled cycle.
Hmm.
Uh, a very good friend of mine told me that he was there for me to explain more about what I went through, and that's how I got to know about, um, the Milab experience later and the super soldier experience first. So basically, the one was before the other.
Hmm. So maybe explain what is MyLab.
Milab is when you're actually abducted by humans as opposed to extraterrestrials. You're led to believe that you're abducted by extraterrestrials. It's very difficult at the time to differentiate between the two because you're in such a state of fear and you're paralyzed, so you can't really respond out of your own will. Your will is basically um, blocked.
Yeah, taken
Yeah,
over.
so that yeah, they triggered your heart energy specifically, and it's almost when you've had such a big fright where you feel ice cold inside of your heart. That sense of feeling, that's what I can explain. That's how it was initially. Um, in my 20s, I basically started becoming more aware of the fact that I could somehow block or fight against it um, by just working constantly on my heart energy to to minimize the experience. Um, they have been, well, let me put it this way. My experience where I actually saw my lab abduction taking place was really where I heard an accent slip through, a human accent. So that made me wonder what the hell, what's going on. And I then recognized in South Africa, South African accent, which was quite bizarre at the time because I was always under the impression that it didn't happen in South Africa. There's not really a lot of information about South Africa. Uh, well, yeah. So very strong Afrikaans accent that came through. We were taken to Pretoria Underground Base. I know that it for a fact because I had dreams afterwards to confirm that it was there. I heard Afrikaans speaking people there as well. I seemed to be more alert than they were. So again, I'm just, I guess, very protected so that I could, establish, to spread the information about this to people in South Africa specifically.
But those abductees were mainly South Africans or Americans?
They were basically all multiracial, multinational. There was a Chinese man. He was a Chinese man. He was part of some Chinese mafia. A middle-aged man. He has a wife and child. There was German. There were German people. There were male and female, old and young. So there wasn't just specifically having youngsters, but they were all kinds of ages. You know what I'm saying? So there was also American and Russian. I could recognize the accents, and most of them were not aware that they were even there. So some of my friends were there as well, and I discussed it with them when I was awake. So that was quite a big thing that made me worry. This needed to be investigated in this country specifically.
Okay, so maybe from the beginning, uh, someone, how are people taken to this project from childhood, childhood?
Yeah. With
Yeah.
what's happened to me was it was myself as a baby child, little one, and then I have siblings, my sister and brother as well. They were also very little, and then they would take you by hijacking your dreams. You'd have a dream, and then your dream would just change into another sequence of dream events as you feel as if you're experiencing another dream. First of all, that's how I remembered it as dreams. Then later, as we got older, I could actually experience where would I would pick up on them before they would even come. I would feel there's going to be an interference, uh, specifically Milab, human abduction, human-based abduction. Um, with extraterrestrial, not so. I can't pick it up so clearly. They seem to be more under the radar than the humans, the military. Um, Also, again, the dream would be you would be dreaming a normal sort of dream, and then you'll have a different scene. I once forced myself to wake up, but I couldn't wake up, but I was in control of my dream. It's as if it became a lucid dream state then. I woke up straight after this specific abduction, and I could smell the smell of some sort of odor. Initially, it was orange juice type of smell, but it changed later to something else. It's nothing that you would smell in a hospital, though, although there could be a little bit of an undertone of that sort of smell. Then my sister would have markings on her. I would. That's how we basically started investigating this under our, from her experience as well. Yeah, markings on her more than they were on me. I'd say it's different than having an extraterrestrial abduction. You can't compare the two with each other at all. One is much more subtle in the way that they come to get you, hijacking your dreams, hijacking you in an astral plane as you start to fall asleep. I had a experience with grey, small grey Zeta Reticuli, I believe, and they basically there were 5 of them, and they came into my room. I woke up, saw them over me, and they pinned me down, and they were trying to put some sort of implant inside of my my skull, the back of my head. I managed to get them away eventually after the struggle. I wasn't very sure whether it was, where, you sort of have a vague feeling that it could be there, but you're not sure. Yeah, I managed to get them away from me.
Okay,
That was
this kind of training and this kind of abduction takes place partially in the dreams, like
yes,
training in the dreams, and partially in the physical.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Uh,
yes, correct.
so you were taken from your home when you were asleep and then put back to your bed
Yes,
this way.
uh, that way, and also they try to, uh, with more emphasis on sort of upgrading their program by changing the scenery rather than to remove me physically. They would also, I don't know how to explain it. It's as if you're having, like I said, a lucid dream. You're sort of awake, but you're not awake. You're dreaming, but you're not dreaming, as if you're having a meditation moment. That's when they get you. You sort of don't have that much control, but you can if you really work hard on yourself, if you discipline yourself. Um, I only know of, I'm aware rather of perhaps 3 times of being physically affected where I felt something was different. Um, After that, they moved to working on the astral realm. I think that was just maybe I was just too difficult to manage or whatever. My sister has had physical experiences. Sorry, yeah,
Okay, and now you you were taken also to this underground base in Pretoria. What
yeah.
what was it inside? What it looked like?
Okay, okay. First of all, it was underneath an old aircraft carrier place. Uh, it used to be an aircraft where the aircraft used to land. So it's an abandoned aircraft carrier base. I know it because I was aware that I could see signage that said it was there. I also saw that when you go into this massive hangar, you would go in and you would suddenly go down into however many layers that would go straight down to where I don't know, I wasn't aware of how many layers we went down, but we went down in a lift. Um, the It looks like a massive parking lot with no cars in it. It's really odd. It's like this makeshift sort of uh, um, canvas things standing all over there. There were military and outfit people with military outfits. There were people with white uh, lab coats, um, dim lights, very crudely set up sort of thing, almost like they would get it and go and then move away. So it wasn't like there weren't permanent fixtures there. There was definitely the sound of a generator. So my sense was telling me that it was artificially held for this specific task. Sort of, yeah. And I could hear the accent of the people, and I know what Pretoria looks like. So it's very flat. There are no mountains. I mean, not mountains, just little hills. So that was my instinct was telling me that that's where that was, and I was actually trying to research it in my waking state through Google Maps and so on, but I couldn't really, to be honest with you, I didn't really pursue it any further. I just lost sort of interest.
And inside, underground, there were rooms, corridors,
Yeah, these rooms were not permanent. They were sort of, um,
cubicles.
yes, yes, they were like, yeah, cubicles, very crudely put together. Like, I'm trying to find the word to explain to you what these things were made up. Sort of like cardboard, but hard. What do you call it? Uh, some had curtains, frames. They were just very crudely put there just to make a cubicle, just for this, you know,
Okay,
beds.
so let's say just example of one time you went there and what did they do to you? Some kind of
Okay,
what?
they made me sit in on a chair with others. We were all sitting in chairs with our backs against the walls, with a wall, prefab sort of wall, and we were called uh, with numbers, and uh, they would sit there. We would have a checkup, physical checkup. Would check your ears, eyes, um, and then they would make sure that you were okay, and then you would go to the next cubicle and sit there and wait. And then there would be others who would come in, other officers would come in, and then they would take certain ones out of the groups, and they would get us to do training. They would also give us things to read. There wasn't any physically forced, strapped into chairs or anything, nothing like that. It's as if it was voluntary, and yet, it's as if they've upgraded their skills of working with uh, us. So there was no force. It was just, you know, move the sheep along sort of behavior with us. I experienced training. I was given training, um, military training. Uh, Plans were given to us that at a later stage we will know that you'll be triggered. You'll know when to respond or to work on this subject or this topic or whatever it is.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
One thing, military training takes a few weeks or months, so you were there physically so long,
I
or every night you were taken there?
Every night, and also if there was one that had experienced that when they were little, they didn't need as much training as the other ones. It's as if it was already cemented in. Um, from what I remember and what I felt I could remember from my dreams was that I've had this military experience for as long as as if I've remembered myself, from little to
Mhm.
adulthood, and it's as if I was getting a brush up on skills, and upgrades and whatever you want to call it.
Means that somehow you were implanted with this knowledge and skills.
Yes, yes, that would be definitely it, because later on I had dreams of the future as well. So I then realized that I was involved in timeline work. Um,
And one more thing about free will, didn't you have any kind of question when you were there? At what point I agreed to be here to undergo this everything, or
Uh,
there was no such question in you, in other guys also?
I only started questioning in my adulthood when a few years ago, I only started questioning because I was led to believe that it was supposed to be right. Because we were in my household, how we grew up, there was that already there, that sort of, do this because this is for the greater good, or do this, or do that. So it felt as if it was natural, you know, and only later did I realize, actually, you know what? I could have said no, I could have said up yours or whatever, and well, it actually did start to happen like that. So yeah.
Uh, okay, and so let's jump to some other topics. Teleportation.
Okay.
You kind of had this training of teleportation, or you used some technology? How was it?
Okay. The teleportation thing. Uh, some of my sister can teleport. I can teleport. I don't know if anybody else can. Um, it's as if it was a natural skill that was harnessed. And the way that it would happen is you would sort of they must have known that we had gifts, because I was always led to believe that uh, I could do certain things when I was a lot younger. So it felt as if my skills, my gifts were manipulated. Um, I could naturally just go anywhere in the world by just focusing on that place, and I'd be there.
Mentally,
Uh,
not physically. Mentally.
uh, Mentally, yes, yes. Later, physically, in my dreams, I could sometimes be somewhere, and then I would not be able to keep it long enough, and I would have to come back. Um, I We tested it with each other. My sister and I tested it a lot. Sometimes people could smell that I I would have a cigarette. They would smell that I was right there, right now. But that's kind of moved. I've moved away from that. It's a bit it's a bit hard now.
And you use this skill for espionage, or
Well, that was what was the problem. Yes, it was what I noticed, that oh my gosh, okay, I'm sort of I had that experience, espionage, where I was sent to go to Europe to go and do certain things, and uh, I would just be there in the middle of the street. I know that I physically had just shot that man, and it really worried me that I couldn't feel that I could stop that. It was as if it was involuntary, sort of a emotional. It's as if it happened automatically without me being able to stop that process.
so people
So that's how I,
saw you appearing somewhere?
yes, appearing there, yes, shocked me that I would be there. I'm there. I'm in Japan right now, and I'm doing this. I'm going to shoot this man. There I am, waiting for him at that specific time. It happens, and suddenly I'm gone. I'm back, and I recall this through my dream a day later, uh, messing with the time. Um, that's just one of the things that's happened. Luckily my friends don't think I'm nuts because I've told them about these experiences. Uh, yeah, and
So, but you remember that a day later because of blank slating, or because this happens this way always?
Yeah, it always happened this way. I think that when I was a lot younger, it wasn't used, it wasn't activated, it wasn't manipulated as such. But as I got older, like in my adulthood, my awareness of it was as if I was partly blocked from knowing. It made me very angry. So I was working very, hard to try and stop it from happening.
You did a lot of meditation or some other way?
Yes, yes, and saying things to get myself out of that state, using electromagnetic energy and placing shields over us to protect us, so that I don't, so that I can actually sleep properly.
Are you still being used by them or you're free?
Well, this is the strangest thing. I thought that I was okay for quite some time until about a week ago, I had a experience where I was sent again somewhere in some building to go and dismantle a computer hard drive of some sort to remove a specific chip or part out of it. And there was someone with me who was doing the security detail to protect me while I was doing this. I had to go there, steal this chip, and I was very peeved. I was very upset because I thought I was finished with this. Yeah, that was quite, something that bothered me now. So that's why, yeah.
You couldn't decide what was going on.
No, initially, like I wrote it down to try and understand whether it was actually just a dream or whether it really happened. But I felt the next morning how I would normally feel if I've done something like this. You feel as if you've had no sleep, but you're very tired. Your eyes are wide open, but you're dead tired. That sort of like out of rhythm feeling. And I thought it had to. So I was watching the news to see what's going on. Something happened for this to happen. All I know is that it had something to do with specifically this chip that had to do with the internet. So I forced myself to have, through meditation, a dream to see what was this about. And I left some clues for myself in this dream that I recalled that experience. And I had made some drawings on a piece of paper in my dream. And that led me to see, oh, okay, this is about something to do with the internet that's connecting everybody together on this world. So someone wants the specific thing that can actually help to keep the negative agenda going. You know what I'm saying? So that's as far as I got now. It's a few days now.
And who's who's they? Who are those who control you?
Well, they are multiple bunch of people who are very ego driven and very controlling and very arrogant, multiracial, uh, mainly human. That's what's so shocking. Mainly human. Um, the percentage in terms of extraterrestrial is smaller, more human. And I thought that I knew who they all were. They have so many names. They can be called Illuminati, Illuminated Ones, or the illumination or the whatever Luciferian agenda. Those are just names for bad people who have lots of money, who don't have anything else to do other than to go on this ego trip to keep people under control, because that's what you do if you have too much time on your hands.
What do you know about the Fourth Reich?
The Fourth Reich, I believe, is something to do with regard to the rising of a new agenda to keep people in the same sort of suppressed state. I was led to believe at some stage in my life that they were initially taking over from the Third Reich. They've basically upgraded themselves to the fourth risen ones, which I was also told they were called the fourth risen sons. Extraterrestrials told me, beings told me this. I've had reptilians come to tell me that these are the new fourth risen sons, and they basically are working on their own sort of little agenda. They haven't done anything specifically too extreme at the moment, because there's a timeline that they're working in, and the timeline is not the right timeline. This one is not right for them to do so because it's a short period of their reign, so they would like to extend it by using another timeline, which they're working to try and start up. But so many of these other lower key players that have been trying to get to their side because they're afraid of being trapped or triggered or taken out of, so they've kind of snuck over to the enemy's line, hide there with these guys. They're not just on the moon. They are mainly here. This is where the action is. It's easier to manage things from this place, from this earth, than from pretty much outside. They do have a small base there, though.
What kind of devices do they use for switching the timelines, the timelines, the global timelines? Is it like CERN or something similar?
Part of it, yes. I've had, again, people coming to tell me, beings come to tell me that they've used the energy that comes off of CERN to. It's as if they. I'm trying to think how I wrote it down. That the Earth is basically sort of splitting into two parts, but one is holographic, and the other is actual. This is where we are, and the other side is around it. Sort of like a yin yang sign, if you would, you're that side. But the one side is like forming another Earth timeline. This instrument that they're using is something that looks like it could be from Tesla. I was given an image that it was something that looked like a cylinder with magnetic energy around it. So when CERN starts, and it basically runs through a supercomputer, which sends out the satellites on the outside of the planet, outside of Earth, and they basically connect with that signal. So whenever this thing starts up, it starts up their machine on that side. CERN is actually damaging the core of this Earth as we're speaking, by creating a shift in the magnetic energy that's holding it together. So it's as if it's like milk curdling. It's like it's busy doing that with the timeline. That's what's happening. So they basically focus on it with their device, and they pick up whatever time they want to be in. Not the right time yet, apparently, for them. They're not so involved as people think. They're not really that involved right now. They're probably more focused on trying to get us back into the past. I feel 75 years back. They want to go that far back to restart. But there's so many other beings and people and organizations that want to keep it in this timeline. So there's this fighting and conflicting behavior. So they,
CERN kind of had a major failure last year. In autumn, it blew up. Yes?
I feel familiar with that. Yes, I think if I could comment on that with regards to who I think did it, I think it messed up. I think it was the those guys outside because of the interference. Whenever these little people here switch it on, it messes with their timelines. So it would be easy just to switch it off because it's the same as it's this massive server that is consists out of the internet that's basically on the earth. It's connected to this server, or it's called a server in human terms. It would be called that, and it's very easy to interfere with something somewhere. If you really want to switch off the server, you could just sort out a certain other smaller servers, like, for example, CERN. Does this make sense? What I'm explaining, because I'm thinking as I'm busy telling you from what I was given. So sorry if I sound a bit.
Okay, Simon Parkes explains that this failure happened because the Earth was expanding itself. It created a thunderstorm, and this thunderstorm hit the power plant, and it destroyed a lot of their devices.
I feel that could be, yes, I agree. Whatever it takes to stop something. If you're desperate, yeah, I believe so.
Okay. What kind of warfare activities you underwent?
Okay.
Single missions or major events?
Okay, major events, yes, and single missions. There was definitely interference with John F. Kennedy. I was a driver, and I was taking him to the airport to this place where he was going to get assassinated, and he was trying to tell me that this was what was going to happen. I remember the interior of the car seats. I remember that the car was very armor pierced as well, and I know that I was trying to stop. I was taking forever to get to where he was supposed to go because he was busy talking to me. That was a timeline mission that happened while I was in this timeline. Okay?
You were his driver in that car?
In that car, yes.
That man was taken over, like his
Yes,
soul was removed and replaced with yours?
I would say so, yes, but not entirely. It's as if they had made. Some people have certain choices that they make where they allow this to happen if they want to make a change. And at that point in time, they just allow that to happen. They don't know when, they don't want to know when. And when that jump takes place into that person's consciousness, they're allowing me to do that, to stop that, to slow down, or to find the information or whatever. That's how my timeline jumping happened and happens. My missions happen like that.
Do you know any more details about his assassinations?
Yes, I do. I also recall that the person that was going to take them out, or persons, not person, they were basically told to execute the target, and I could hear it. I did not see where the shot came from, but I was supposed to gather the information from him before he was going to be taken out, and he knew it. He knew that he was going to be taken out. His wife was not present at that time. It was only, I was not in that parade where that took place. I was driving him to get to the parade, and then he would meet his wife there. That's what I recall of what happened.
Why couldn't he change the situation? He said he knew about that. So it was like decision from the higher realm.
Well, basically, what I felt was he could have told me stop right there, but when you're so scared, I think all he kept saying to me, and I could smell his body odor as well. He was saying to me, "Son, it's too late. Son, it's too late." That's what he said to me. And so I said, "Well, tell me, what is there? What can we do?" And he said, and he told me about all of these things that were going to happen. I can't access it. I can just tell you that something happened in Mexico. Something happened with the organizations there. I can't say more because I can't recall it. There's a bit of a block there. If I had to sit in, I would probably be able to get it if I had to focus really hard on it. I was also, sorry?
Some other example in the history?
Yes, Vietnam as well. The just being part of there was one specific person that wasn't supposed to get killed. I managed to stop that from happening. It was one of the Vietnamese uh, um, soldiers, because he was going to have a child later who would be very important for for Vietnam. Grandchild, or whatever you want to call it. That bloodline had to be saved, so I helped him escape from there. My siblings were involved in that timeline as well with me. Then further, there's a lot of timelines where things happen very far back into the past, in the beginnings of the earth, of the events that took place, and then things that have happened now, the sort of present timeline of this current this current timeline, single missions in this current timeline. Execute this banker from this country at that time, specifically on the dot. Go to Russia, go and take out 5 men. Go to Italy, go and take out this man at this place, this time. That's what happened. Those were the specific missions that took place. And then, of course, then there was sort of a break in between. I think that was when I was working very hard to change my life. So it felt quiet after that. I thought I could stop that,
But during those missions, you had different bodies.
Yes. Yeah. Uh,
Yes.
Male, yes, sometimes female. Mostly male, because apparently they could get the job done quicker. Those were the words that were given to me. So and just for that minute, for that time when that event takes place.
Okay. chronologically the oldest jump. I mean, the furthest jump back to the history
Okay.
of Earth. What was that?
The German war, the war, the German war, the first one or the second one, to do with trying to change the time, change it so that it could have a different outcome. It failed. It was repeatedly done to try and change it. It failed. The last that had happened was to do with Hitler. Okay, and he didn't die. I believe the information has come out now that they found that he lived in Brazil or somewhere. Argentina. I've known about that for longer than this information that they've found.
So it means you helped him escape?
I was there to make sure, yes. It wasn't even the same guy that did all of the stuff. There was definitely a double. He had more than just a double. He had about 4 guys that were doing his thing for him. The one that got away was called Adolf Schreier. That was what he was called. His surname, I don't know. Yeah, I guess Hitler. But he did look like him. Help him to get his passport and all of the stuff out. There was a German specific officer that I was supposed to take out, to kill, to stop him, so that it would change the timeline forever. And I couldn't find the guy. It was as if there was something that was stopping me from doing it, as if there were others that were trying to stop me from doing this. I failed. I wouldn't.
Do you remember
the guy's name? Fritz, something Fritz, but I can't remember anything else. Just the name Fritz. That's all. Tall, long face, reddish hair, blonde reddish hair. That's it. I failed. Couldn't take him out.
So Hitler, how many days before the official suicide, he was taken away from there?
Almost 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks, because it was long enough to get away, to plot all the stuff. His own people didn't even know. But it was just, yeah.
So his own people didn't know the real Hitler.
No. I remember that I met this man. He was a very quiet, calm, shy, introvert person. He was very scrawny. He had a physical condition. His body odor was weird, so I later learned that it was actually a nervous condition of the liver or something like that. And I met him in a pub, and I discussed with him information, and he was willing to do this. And then I don't remember. Then it's gone. Memory is gone from that specific event. Then I remember again seeing him again. He has no idea what I look like. I know that I'm obviously in another body, so he would not know. But it shows you something about the soul that picks up on another person's soul, that there's a frequency. So he started to become friends with me. Then memory cut. Then handing over passports to another man at a air base, and this guy's going in through the carrier side of this plane, and not through a boat, not through a submarine, but by air. and giving him his passport, the leather bind of this passport with on him, on his person, give it to him back and say, have a good one, in German, and memory cut. Yeah, that's what's been going on. But I do know that I missed one specific opportunity to take out this one person, and I couldn't find him. I couldn't kill him because I couldn't find him, because there were so many things happening. It was as if my psyche was being messed with. So I think I was being attacked by perhaps another soldier who was trying to block me from doing this, or could be extraterrestrial.
And this flight, this airplane, what was the destination of the flight with Hitler?
To get him out of the country.
Okay, where?
A place with lots of trees and where it was hot. That was what the description was. So yes, I'm assuming Argentina.
Yeah, but there were no
They were delivering things. There were things going in there. It was like a cargo ship, a cargo plane. Yes, there were things going in there. There was something like a piano that was going in there as well. A massive box with a piano inside. Something from Vienna that went on that plane as well. And that way it was easy to just go. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump to Mars. What do you know about
Okay.
the bases on Mars?
Okay. What I know about Mars is the information before, while when I was on Mars, I was there visiting while the Earth was being populated. That's how long ago I was on Mars. And there was peace. There was a loving play. There were a lot of loving beings there. They did not look like Martians. They looked humanoid. Um, dark skin, almost African type people. Not warring, very quiet, very respectful, and you could breathe there. And I'm not aware that I don't think I was in human form there. I believe that I was there in an extraterrestrial form. So it was accommodating for myself as whatever species I was to be there. And I was basically there to oversee how things were going and to sort of do a round to see if it was okay and everything was okay. And so I went back. That's how long ago I've been there, while the earth was being populated and while the human the human project was taking place.
When was that? Can you specify, or it's impossible?
I can't tell you the time because I would not be accurate perhaps if I would say so. I can just only say that it was before dinosaur time, so yeah, I guess long before that even. The Earth's continents were still together, so Pangaea all together. It was taking place in the Orion constellation, where there were many other groups of beings that came together to decide, after a long struggle, that maybe they should all put a part of themselves inside this new project called Anhuman or Anuman, or however you want to call it, because maybe the way that I pronounce it is perhaps wrong, but that was what it was known as, or Adam, or something like that. And I remember being I was part of a race that was working with the Orion elders. Okay.
You say this memory comes from the earlier incarnation, or it was some kind of mission during this lifetime when you jumped back.
This was a memory from an earlier incarnation.
So what else do you know about this Project Hanuman?
This project was specifically meant to bring a sort of a peace to this world, as if initially the Orion elders wanted to have something to look forward to when they retire. That's how it was announced. And uh, everybody should, everybody wants to be part of this, this thing, donate some of your DNA. Let's all put it together in this pot and let's, celebrate this whole little, creation. And it was wonderful. And there was an awareness of a source being, or a source, and there was also then suddenly a time where the Orion elders had to step down, and they said to me, okay, since you're not really our child, but you're our adopted child, you will now have to work with our sons and daughters who are the Orion children, the second generation Orion beings. And that's where everything just went upside down, because that's where greed came in and exploitation took place, and they should rather be slaves, and that sort of nonsense. Unfortunately, that sort of state of consciousness was put into into the existence of humanity. It's almost as if they could feel that they are born with low self-esteem, and that's basically because they feel unloved by their parents. I believe humans suffer deep down on the core level that they feel unloved and they feel abandoned, and that's why they feel that they can't live up to anything more or better or whatever. I'm not saying everybody is like this. I'm just saying that that's the overall general sort of experience that I think is around in humanity at the moment.
This illusion is somehow imposed on humanity.
Yes,
It's not real. In reality,
yes,
it's quite different. It's the opposite.
yes.
So, what is the method of overimposing this illusion, this Maya, on people?
The way that it's held in place is by fixing on that which is perceived as a weakness. In other words, emotion, emotion and feelings are exploited. Um, it's constantly working on the heart consciousness and suppressing the heart the heart energy, which is actually, it has everything that's inside of the body is inside of the heart. Um, that's the problem, according to them. Um, if you can,
According to whom? According to those creators? According to those who create humans?
no, let me put it this way. The Orion children, the second generation Orions, did not create humans, the elders did. And these children exploited their parents' their plans by, it's as if my father leaves to me his land and I'm angry with my father, so I don't do nothing with the land. I damage the land because I'm angry with my father. And this land stays there and becomes whatever, bitter and whatever. I believe that the ones that are exploiting the humans that are exploiting humans, I believe that they are it's not just a little handful or the top of the pyramid that's doing this. It's everybody doing it to everybody in some way, which is really sad.
Okay, and can you explain what is the relationship between those Orion elders and Anunnaki here? I understand that the time difference is very huge. You said like millions of years, and the Anunnaki were thousands of years. Yes?
Yes, correct. It's yes. There's no
No connection.
connection.
Okay.
No, the Orion elders would be, if I were to explain to you in terms of, it would be looking at something that did not need to have a shape or a form to show who they are, who they were, but you could feel there's a father, you could feel there's a mother, you could feel there's that of them, and their children were probably, I would say the Anunnaki would be the grandchildren of the second generation Orion, or their children. Could be their children, yes.
Okay, so do you know anything about the Anunnaki? Anything like in detail? What they did here?
I do know that the story that I recall from my experience in remembering was that all of us came to the earth at numerous times. There wasn't a specific time that everybody that we came through here, or that I do know that some of us came and went back, some stayed behind, some never came back. Uh, so there was this. I believe that the term was given to the visitors that came here. I do not believe that it was this race, specific one kind of race that came here that did all of this. I believe that, as I recall, that it was as if many kinds came here, and wherever they came, that's where they either stayed or they mated with the folks here, and that was that. Um, the agenda was more outside of the earth in terms of the war that broke out when the children, the second generation Orions, revolted against their parents, their fathers. Uh, did that come out right? Sorry to explain. May I explain?
Yes, yes, please explain. Yeah.
Um, okay, the older generation, the first generation old Orion beings, when they stepped down, their children took over, and they were not happy with what was left for them to look after, to care for, to nurture, and they became embittered. It's the state of where there's this. I think the Bible has kind of, it wasn't written very clearly with the explanation of being unhappy with, why did you care so much about them, when we're so much more superior than them? Why are they your favorite, sort of thing? That was the human emotional interpretation I would explain, and that upset many others in that constellation, because it was as if their DNA was insulted by these, because everybody put their DNA into this big dish
Hmm. How many of them?
container. Sorry,
How many of them? How many races?
a lot. I can't explain, but I do know that there were five specific ones, main ones. Um, there were others that gave smaller parts, smaller um, DNA. There was also three types of human beings before the initial settled upon one that worked. The first one was very docile, very weak, and it had a base in its DNA that was Lemurian, and it was not very strong to defend itself against the elements of the world, the nature. and then the second one, which was a transition of the first one, and that did not work so well either, excuse me, because that was just too aggressive. And then the third one, which is how I would say modern man now perhaps would probably look like, from what I can remember. I know that I was involved in all of that, not the actual experimentation of it, but I was aware of it and I was seeing how this was taking place. Okay, and I kind of digressed from what you were asking me. I apologize.
How many races? As far as I
Oh,
know,
fine.
there were 13 of them. That's the number I've heard somewhere.
Okay, I know that there were 5 that gave the 5 shape, the symbol for the hand. Each finger or digit of the hand would represent the race that gave the most DNA in terms of the basis of the human being. But yes, I would probably, if there was 13, yes, okay. Smaller parts, perhaps other parts of the body. I'm just speaking from what I remember. I do know that there were 5 main ones, though.
Okay, what about the reptilians?
Uh,
What part from them?
I definitely that brain, the brain part, that
Stem?
yeah, brainstem, yes, brainstem, but not from. You see, this is what's so again. It assists in the self-defense of how to protect yourself. If that part was trained correctly, it would serve rather than destroy. It's the same as knowing that your ego is there and you would have to care for it, but you don't have to feed it. If you follow what I'm saying, it's you can't cut off a part of yourself if you don't like it. I mean, you would look rather stupid.
Okay, we still have a lot of topics, so let's make
Yeah.
the first part and we'll continue with the second.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you?
Well, that's great.